your host, the founder of the Mindful Habit System, and this podcast, Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions. And the goal of this podcast isn't just to help you solve the crisis in front of you, but to help you use whatever crisis, whatever challenge you're going through as a catalyst to change the system, as an opportunity to strengthen the system. And we're going to talk about the system today, specifically from the perspective of Christmas and the holidays. Merry Christmas for those of you who celebrate. Happy Hanukkah, late Happy Hanukkah for my Jewish brothers and sisters. And right now we're in the middle of the Christmas season. And so what happens during the Christmas season? The holiday season, slips skyrocket. I get more calls of people in crisis. Clients struggle. There's partner struggle, very triggering. And so on top of the stress, and please check out other two podcasts where I talk about Christmas holidays being a crisis. Why a crisis? Because of the impact that it has on your system, what you use to prioritize mental health, the system that you use to channel and direct this power force, your sexual energy, the routines, the habits, the policies and procedures that empower you to counterbalance. And so whatever system you got, even if it sucks, it is under more stress than it was before the Christmas season. Meaning that it's harder to... Sorry, I couldn't hear. Not you, Siri. It's harder to exercise self-control. It's harder to not be as reactive. The system is under stress. And there's all sorts of issues around that. So here's what I want to talk about today is, one, I want to answer your question. So if you have a question and you join me live, welcome. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. And please post your questions in the chat. We had a great conversation last time. And so if you have any feedback, any questions, anything that you'd like, please put it in the chat. But here's and listen, here's the tips to manage holiday season. Don't eat as much, don't drink as much. There's a million articles out there that are important. It gets into, what do you need to do to exercise agency and control? So, think about that. Self-care rooted in self-love. How do you better manage the stress? But I want to use this crisis and help you use this crisis as an opportunity to, first, to use Christmas to create powerful transformation. Number one, use it as an opportunity to study your relationship with reward. Christmas is the perfect time to examine that relationship that you have with reward. Expectations, attachments, disappointment. So there's a massive mindfulness play. And the reason why that reward is so important is because that is literally your path to sanity, healthy sexuality, and success, is to get those rewards proactively. Why? Because to break a habit, you have to make the right habits that meet the right need. And your compulsive sexual behavior is undoubtedly meeting needs. It is a reward. Think about that, right? It is a reward. And since the solution is you rewarding yourself, proactively meeting your needs, rewarding yourself is the solution, use Christmas as an opportunity to study your relationship with reward. And to drive from the point on why it's so important, let's take the book Power of Habit. What is the habit cycle in Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit? It is cue, routine, reward. And listen, it's really hard for some of you to see your compulsive sexual behavior as a reward, but it is. It is serving a purpose. It is meeting a need. And it is a reward. And so that's Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit. Highly recommend in your journey to learn more about a book that I think is better, that I love reading after the 12 weeks in the Mindful Habit System, is the book Atomic Habits. And Atomic Habits reinforces that reality. It is cue, right? The trigger, the craving. I desire that which triggers me. Craving, response, whatever you do in response to that craving. And last but not least, say it with me. 3, 2, 1, reward. Let me say that again. So the habit cycle in the book Atomic Habits is, and book I highly recommend, by the way, is cue, craving, response, reward. And understanding that concept is so important, particularly for men who have diseasified that part of themselves. Particularly important for men where there is shame, where the more shame, the harder it is to see that reward. But make no mistake about it, absolutely, unequivocally, I promise you this. Your compulsive sexual behavior, or if a partner's listening, hello, your partner's is need-seeking behavior. It is some capacity, a reward. And so use the holidays to study that reward. You might find that for a lot of guys who've stepped outside the marriage, this is when they would celebrate. This is when they would reward themselves. Or for guys who, maybe having trouble at home, not being proactive about getting their sexual needs met. Hey, I'm going to reward myself with pornography. So those are examples, like receiving gifts, giving gifts, feeling good, feeling bad. Just study all the cacophony of emotions over the course of the holiday season, examining your relationship with reward. It will give perspective on met in your life. It will demonstrate for you, or at least give you an early understanding that this notion that needs get met reactively, subconsciously, automatically, or they get met proactively. Not mindlessly, but mindfully. Not subconsciously, but consciously. So understanding your reward mechanism is very, very important to break this habit. So that's number one. Number one, you can use the holiday season, the nature of reward, gifts, to study your relationship with reward, and use it as an opportunity to meet those needs proactively and reward yourself in a healthy, constructive way. For any of you watching out there, if you have any questions, put it in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them as I get to growth opportunity over the holidays, number 2. And that is to use the holidays as an opportunity to stress test your system. Okay, let's say you're on the right track. Coming into the holidays, because of the increased food, increased booze, celebration, increased reward, increased variability, increased stress. It's a very, very stressful time for a lot of people, and a lot of guys lose their mojo. They stop doing the things that make them successful, and that is fatal. You know where that's going to go. If you stop doing the things that make you successful, of course you're going to get needs met reactively. Of course, you're going to fall into those grooves of habits. You will respond to those legacy burdens. That's what they systems model, the conditioning, the training from childhood, in that reactive way. So, despite all of the challenges of the holiday, despite the increased pressure, increased stress, increased reward, increase compulsive urges, increase anxiety, increase fear, right? Figure out what your plan B is. What actions do I need to perform, recognizing that I'm going to have these kinds of stressors going forward. They may not look like the holidays, but I'm going to have failure at work. There's going to be medical problems. There's going to be challenges that you haven't even dreamed of yet. I wish it was so easy where, hey, if I don't do the thing anymore and everything is great, I am living my best life. Does not work like that. Even when you are feeding the right wolf, meeting your needs proactively, doing everything objectively, we can look at the list and say, this cat is crushing it. Look, right here, everyone agreed, right? We all agree, crushing it. You're going to be challenged. You're going to be challenged. You're going to get, listen, you know what the challenge is. I need to get morbid on this Christmas Q&A, but you will struggle. There will be pain. Your system will be strained. You won't be able to do all the things that you need to do to mostly keep yourself on the right track. The system that you have has to be flexible. And that system is being stressed over the holidays. So use this as an opportunity to implement some Kaizen goals, small, attainable goals that that puts you in a place where, hey, I'm not doing what I normally do in terms of self-care, in terms of my routines, but I am moving in the right direction. I am on the right track. So think about what very specific, small, attainable, like that's the key to Kaizen goals, guys. They have to be attainable. They have to be small. So an example of a Kaizen goal would be when I wake up in the morning and I put my feet on the floor, I'm going to pick up my one thing I'm grateful for. And notice what I did there. I anchored this new habit to me putting my feet down. That's called anchoring. You know, your feet have to go down every day. You know, you have to go to the bathroom when you get up. There may be other habits. You grab that glass of water. And so anchor that habit and pick some small attainable goals. And if anyone has any ideas regarding a small attainable goal, put them in the chat. I will definitely give you some feedback. The goal of those small attainable goals is to create a culture of success. And success is living in an environment, living in a reality, a new reality for you, where you are always in one of two places, track or wrong track. And that habit, that state of mind, that belief system is so important, because what that does is it drives action. When you live in a place where you're either on the right track or you're on the wrong track, when you're on the wrong track, you can't fool yourself more. You know where that goes. And so that drives action. So you want to be able to say, going into 2022, through the holidays, that despite those challenges, my system was flexible enough to where I was able to stay on the right track. I used some micro goals. I used some Kaizen goals to get me through, to help me proactively manage risk. So I didn't do what I normally do, but I was able to do one item of gratitude per day, one extra glass of water today, one extra flight flight of stairs up and down. Small attainable goals to maintain this new reality where you prioritize your self-care, where you proactively love yourself through action and deed from the belief system that you are worthy. An identity where you recognize the incredible power of your sexual energy. You use that energy and you are proactive and intentional and mindful about respecting that power, channeling and directing that. I wish you a Merry Christmas. Hang out just for a minute to see if anybody has any questions. If you are listening to this after the fact and subscribe, you'll get notifications when I appear live, and that way you can ask me questions. We talk about habits, we talk about mindfulness, we talk about unmet needs, we talk about healthy sexuality, and I know you got questions. I am addicted to coffee. We'll talk about that in another podcast. I'm also going to share some of the medical challenges that I'm having right now. I think they're really perfect opportunities, not to bask in your pity, but to help learn the mindset so important to navigate these inevitable challenges. So thank you for being part of my journey. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me your most precious resource, which is time. Remember, to break a habit, you have to make the right habit that meets the right needs. And that's important because all behavior, footnote, very small exceptions, is need-seeking behavior. And needs get met reactively, mindlessly, habitually, or they get met proactively, mindfully, not habitually. Thank you. Merry Christmas.